What is up, everybody? Brett here, and we're back. My YouTube channel is Good Talk Gaming, and we're going to check out a super fun game that I played the other day with some new friends of mine. We're on the map Grimmenhagen, which is just the ideal artillery duel map. So when we went into this battle, I told the guys, I was like, hey, let's go ahead and have an artillery duel. And this ended up being one of the most fun games I've had in Total War Warhammer 2 in a long time. Kind of reinvigorated my love of the game. So normally I break down strategies, I go over in-depth, unit picks and army compositions. I'm not doing any of that. We're going to get into the action. I've got organ guns, I've got flame cannons, regular cannons, the Goblobber, and we're going to be trading back and forth. My ally has the only Queen Bess on the battlefield, lots of mortars and carronades. A nice gunnery white pick here. You combine that with the defensive buffs of my runesmith, and we have a nice artillery pocket here in the center. And yeah, my master engineer is going to be popping things like enchanted ballistics and ballistics calibration. And with the constant replenishment of ammunition on Queen Bess, we're going to get some beautiful shots. Already, this mortar is just off the battlefield. The Empire players that we're up against, you see here they have a Luminarch of Hysh. They have, man, so many carronades and mortars from their Vampire Coast player, just all along these ridges. 3 Hellstorm rocket batteries taking up this position here, as well as a great cannon that we've managed to knock offline right off the bat. Because they're so tightly clumped, we're able to get some pretty value shots off of mortars. Queen Bess, just absolutely devastating, and they're going to be offline relatively soon. But just the sheer number of carronades here is going to be able to snipe out and overwhelm our artillery. Out on the flanks here, 2 more carronades, as well as the Gallows Giant. Check out this bad boy. He's going to get into some hot action later on in this game. I've got my flame cannons in pretty strategic locations where I feel like their shortened range won't be an issue. My one cannon off to the side here has already lost a unit model, but we're still firing. I decided to take quite a bit more infantry as a dwarf player. I've got miners with blasting charges as well as dwarf warriors kind of holding the central lines. You'll see here Gelt and this bright wizard move up, casting some spells, trying to take out my miners with blasting charges, but Gelt has a transmutation on his mind. It's the only spell he has equipped, and he's just going to walk right up to the front lines and try to get no doubt a beautiful overcasted one to do a lot of damage to our back line. See what he does here. There he goes. Here it goes. So just absolute carnage. The organ guns are still online, and you're going to see the health of everything in this drop with just a standard final transmutation, not an overcast. He probably used up a bit too much of his Winds of Magic on that first spell. But as long as the organ guns are firing, we're going to have the advantage because they're such monsters at sniping out other artillery. So you see there, one piece just absolutely dissolves. This Hellstorm rocket battery, our opponents are doing a good job of trying to get their crews back online. The Gallows Giant is finally moving out, and he's going to be shooting his fire into these zombie pirate gunnery mobs. See how many kills he gets. At 47 right now. Shooting into their backs. He only gets 2 kills, but that's an absolutely brutal way to die, that's for sure. Or to re-die, depending on whether or not you're a zombie. But we don't want Gelt standing around. He's taking a ton of damage. Some of our mortar fire is being focused on him. I moved up my Master Engineer to take shots, as well as I have 2 groups of Thunderers this battle, and they're going to do a ton of work for us as well. You see more shots raining down. But I'm going to move them up. We're going to get them into the battle. My miners with blasting charges are able to nuke down Gelt with a little bit of help from some of the cannons. But in order to save him, the Reiksguard rides out, as well as these are the standard Demigryph Knights, but Gelt goes down. But the Reiksguard are no doubt going to be able to just run down my miners. But they have no fear. They are brave Dowie. And my Thunderers, who have been shooting at this Gallows Giant, trying to take it down, are now going to try and attempt to keep these Demigryph Knights from their front lines. But a pretty good play I managed to do here. I brought my flame cannon that was offline, and they were able to absorb the charge from the Demigryph Knights in the last second while I pull back my Thunderers, trying to get them behind some semblance of safety, safe lines there. And this fight over here is well underway. I had a flame cannon here that's been slowly but surely devastating these depth guard, these halberds that were here. I moved up my dwarf warriors and one of my runesmiths. I had 2 of those bad boys to try and take on the night terrors, who by themselves would just be able to absolutely decimate the infantry units that I have here. But with the help of 2 rangers, which were invisible until very recently, they're going to be able to get past the very low missile resistance of these Night Terrors, and they're going to help me to bring them down. Runesmith using Rune of Oath and Steel and Rune of Negation to keep my boys fighting. Flame Cannon just being devastating in the background. Trying to shoot it at whatever large targets I can. And by large targets, I mean big blobs of infantry. We're using my Dwarf Warriors here to tie down the Gallows Giant. We don't want it going anywhere. My Thunderers have moved up. I made a bit of a defensive position here with my Dwarf Lord. And we're going to try and funnel what infantry they have into this kind of hot gate scenario. Queen Bess. What a brutal shot. Thunderers kind of shooting up and over the very tiny dwarf infantry. That's a grudging. But lots of mortars and stuff still left on our side of the battlefield. 2 carronades there. The Gunnery White just pumping ammunition into Queen Bess. And here we go. These great swords, probably the most threatening thing on the battlefield at the moment. We're going to be able to focus fire them down pretty heavily. And I managed to sneak around with a bit of my, my defensive position here. And this cannon that got shot to pieces by these other 2. My miners run into battle, and they get shot point blank by the carronade, but they're going to be able to shut it down. But this other carronade is kind of on defensive overwatch, looking to take them out. The Empire Cavalry runs at the sight of the Sirens. It looks like 2 groups of them, and they're going to be extremely difficult for all of those infantry to deal with. The Bright Wizard trying to make more of a dent on the battle, but our own Night Terrors are going to chase him down, knock him to the ground, into the mud, and beat him down. But massive shots from Queen Bess, from my Thunderer gun line, and from the mortars are going to send 3 groups of great swords running from the battlefield. We only needed 1 Dwarf Warrior and Miner to kind of pin them, but as they retreat, just devastation all the way up the hill. These Zombie gunnery mobs with bombs haven't really been able to make an impact on the battlefield. They were moved forward, no doubt, to try and help their allies win this blob, but it's just not going to happen. Luther Harkin is just up on this hill here, shooting. I'm sure he's in range of something, but he's not actually in the fight. The Sirens here are grinding it out with these halberdiers. They'll be able to win that for sure in a long, prolonged fight. The fact that they're ethereal means they take almost no damage whatsoever from these units, and the Death Guard with polearms are just kind of backing them up. Meanwhile, we were able to destroy this 1 carronade, but now we still have this one left to do, and I think we're going to get some cool blasting charges while the carronade shoots us to pieces. Oh god, oh no. Run in, brave Dawi. And I've still got some units here in reserve. So does my ally. Some Death Guard with polearms didn't even make it into the fight. My Runesmith here gets into the front line, is aiding us in pushing up and around. Luther Harkin's finally kind of joining the battle, I think. But all of this infantry is being wrecked. Oh my god. All of the bombs going off on the Runesmith, but he's protected. The Luminarch of Hysh, 75 kills, was able to fire all of its ammunition this battle. And I brought up one of my flame cannon crews who had their flame cannons. I think they completely ran out of ammunition, yeah. I brought them up to support my Runesmith, but these Death Guard with polearms have way too much armor piercing and HP regen. Even with the help of Rangers who have now run out of ammo, they're going to have a hard time beating that. And that's it. Lots of crumbling going off from the Vampire Coast. And we're pushing up through the center. Luther Harkin himself is crumbling. The Empire player is going the way of the dodo. And some last minute badass spells here. Vangeist's Revenge. Just for the rub-ins. He's going to be blowing those spearmen to pieces. So an amazing battle. God, that got me hyped. That was so much fun. So obviously guys, in any artillery duel, there's going to be a lot of micro going on. It seems like maybe there isn't. It's just like point and click. But there's not. I mean, I was focusing my flame cannon, especially this one, on mainly infantry, and using it to snipe out lots of these Depth Guard with polearms before the battle even started. They racked up a ton of kills. Using my organ guns to focus on other carronades, and using my Goblobber on Vampire Coast units, because it does have that leadership debuff. So hoping to crumble their artillery pieces in conjunction with something like a flame cannon. They can apply some pretty heavy leadership debuffs and force them into crumbling. But just so much artillery on this side of the battlefield. The Gallows Giant got a lot of kills, probably mainly on the cheaper, Vampire Coast infantry. Things like these zombie pirate gunnery mobs that strayed too close, got shot to pieces. But my good work from my ally, Menacing Fart, keeping Queen Bess online for the entire battle, not moving her forward, knowing that she has the best range on the battlefield aside from those Hellstorm rocket batteries that we were able to shut off pretty quickly. Had we gone with a more infantry-focused build, which, I mean, it was an artillery duel, so that probably wasn't going to happen, they would have been extremely effective. But with just the sheer amount of cannons and the overwhelming firepower from the organ guns, which I had focused on them pretty much from the start, we were able to overwhelm their artillery ultimately. And a lot of the infantry was kind of held in reserve, perhaps for too long, from the Empire player. I think it's important, and from the Vampire Coast player, I guess, the depth guard with pole arms perhaps needed to get in there just a little bit sooner. There's a very important part in every battle where you have to realize whether you're winning or you're losing, right? And I think there was definitely a part where it felt like we were losing, and then there was a shift where I think it was right around the time the Empire player threw in his cavalry, and we were able kind of to beat them back. Had this cavalry charge been timed with, a really strong infantry push, they could have potentially broke through our front lines instead of us kind of boxing them in, and could have pushed into our artillery and shut them down. But that's a pretty hard thing to coordinate if you're not, in Discord or something like that talking. But anyway, lots of good fire. Menacing Fart had some really good and clutch targeting with his mortars and Queen Bess. Whenever the Empire player finally committed his great swords to battle, they were so blobbed up, 3 groups together, that we were able just to almost instantly rout them. It was kind of a thing of beauty. And yeah, props to him for taking a Luminarch. I mean, this is all about fun, guys. Don't judge any of these players' skill levels based on whether or not we won or lost, because at the end of the day, we all just wanted to take different artillery pieces. Yeah, and big props for using a Luminarch of Hysh and keeping it alive and for the entire battle. I mean, that's amazing. That's an achievement in and of itself. And these Night Terrors were absolute terrors. They held down that entire flank against my Runesmith and my Rangers for quite some time. 106 kills on them. Pretty value. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this cast. I hope you enjoyed my commentary. Once again, my name is Brett, and my channel is Good Talk Gaming. You can find me on my YouTube channel. I put these videos up very regular. My YouTube channel is focused around strategy games. I love all types of strategy games. There's probably something for you, and if there isn't, keep your eyes open, because I'm always doing new games and going back and doing great old games too. So consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like the video if you did enjoy it. All that YouTube stuff helps me out and lets me know that I'm doing a good job. But without any further ado, guys, take care, and I will see you in the next one.